I've seen the industry change a lot in a decade.
Radically.
Radically. I mean, Sundance, Cannes, Venice, female filmmakers took the top prize, right? Come on.
Nice to see you. I've been following you on Twitter as always. You are always entertaining. And my favorite was your response to the Venice video where you came up with Morticia and
I mean, it was
Gomez.
The most ridiculous thing. I was like, wow, what is going on in the world?
One of the things that I enjoy about what you do on Twitter is that you seem to enjoy sharing your love of dress up. Explain to me some of what goes on there.
Well, especially, I'm sure it's like with a vengeance, especially after all of us being separated for so long, you know, and not being able to play dress up. I mean, I like lived in jeans and t-shirts for a year. Now all of a sudden I'm wearing a all leopard head to toe. I'm all about it. I like it because I'm influenced by it. I wore a dress yesterday and I asked the makeup designer if he could do like a green eye, a beautiful green eyeshadow. And I mean, there's something about it. It just inspires a feeling in me. I guess the same way a piece of music makes you feel a certain way inside. If I wear something, I wanted to wear leopard today in honor of Tammy Faye because it's one of her favorite colors. It inspires something in me, and that's why I love fashion so much.
You and I go back to the very beginning when that big year where you were talking about this yesterday at the awards ceremony. Congratulations, the It Girl year. But one of the things that you did tell me then, I remember, was that it gave you the opportunity to show everyone all the different shades of what you could do. You've been developing this for 10 years. What was the original impulse? You saw the doc? Is that it?
Yeah, I was actually on the press tour for Zero Dark 30 and I was jet lagged somewhere and the documentary came on. And I was just kind of blown away by this woman and how filled with compassion and love. And I realized that I didn't know anything about the real Tammy. The only thing I knew was like the drama, right? What the media sensationalized, the sketch comedy jokes, the tabloid fodder. And the documentary really kind of blew me out of the water. I mean, the interview she had with Steve Peters was mind-blowing at that time when the US government isn't even comfortable saying the word AIDS and communities are dying. It makes me emotional talking about it. Like, she brought Steve Peters on her show, an openly gay minister with AIDS, and she told her audience, we as Christians need to love everyone, and I want to put my arms around you. And she also asked him about being gay and what happened when he came out to his family, and he said they told him that they would love him no matter what. And she said, that's good, because we as moms and dads need to love through anything, and that's the way with Jesus. And I am convinced Steve Peters and Tammy Faye saved lives with that interview. Because a lot of families who were afraid and didn't understand what it meant to be part of the LGBTQ community probably ostracized family members. And I'm sure they brought people together. And so for me, I had to celebrate that. And I had to celebrate her true story for this new generation of people who may not know her.
Well, you also seem to have seen something behind the presentation that people seem to be so judging of. Yes. The way she looked, the way you seemed to feel that she was profoundly misunderstood.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, she was constantly judged. I mean, there was more information about her mascara than like telling, Christians and the community that we need to love people and not ostracize those that are dying of AIDS. I mean, that's insane to me that we care more about how much makeup a woman is wearing than actually what she's doing. And I know this is kind of par for the course. We look at society, there's so much interest in how we're presenting ourselves in the world, how much space we're taking up in terms of how loud our voices are, the things that we talk about, just filling space. Tammy came from a community that wanted her to be demure and quiet and the minister's wife. And she was a minister on her own. Like, she was not the wife. She went to college and she was a minister, and she ministered through song and through a lot of years of studying. So for me, that was important also to acknowledge that aspect of who she was.
But what made you go ahead and say, I'm developing this as a movie for me? What took so long?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, it took so long because I really didn't know what I was doing. To be honest, it was like the beginning of my career. I just had boobies out in the movie theater, and I was like, this is a story that needs to be told. I would love to play her because it's really scary and I don't know how I'll do it. I got to figure it out. But now let me figure out, because I didn't have a production company. I didn't have anything. I'm just gonna buy the rights. I met with the filmmakers. I bought the rights from them. We met over breakfast and they sold them to me. And then I went about trying to find partners to put it together. But then it's like, what story are we going to tell? Because there's a lot of draw towards, the tabloid story. That's what everyone's interested in, is like the gossip. And so focusing on like, how do we create something that we're putting something positive into the world, and we're not re-traumatizing people, and we're telling a story that is unknown, that hasn't been fictionalized.
Were people receptive? Did people go, yes, we want to do this? Or did it take until you did have a production company and you did have more knowledge of how to produce? What made it happen?
So it's actually happened with a lot of friends. I met Rachel Shane on the film I did, Lawless, and she's a great producer. And so when I got the rights, I called Rachel Shane and I called David Greenbaum, who I worked with on a film called The Debt. And David said, this sounds like an amazing film. Let me know when you have a script. I said, okay. And Rachel Shane said, let's hire some writers and let's put a script together and develop a story. So this is all before a production company. So we hired Abe Sylvia, we did outlines, we developed the script. And then when we felt good about it, by then I had my production partner, Kelly Carmichael. I sent it to David Greenbaum. They were the only studio I sent it to. We're all family who've made this film. I mean, Kelly and David used to work together like 18 years ago or something. So really, it's a big community of friends and family.
So how much have you done singing in the course of your career? Because this is, I mean, especially that, I have to hand it to you. There's a finale where you go up as the older Tammy Faye, the single, poor Tammy Faye, and she makes a comeback and she has to sing in front of this whole theater. It broke my heart. That's a hard scene. That's a hard scene to do.
That was the scene, actually. That and the Steve Peters scene were the hardest for me. Steve Peters, because you could literally watch the movie and then Google the scene. So it's like you could do a side by side. Sun Will Shine Again, because that's also, you can do a side by side. That's on YouTube. And then the end, because for me, the end was so important about what would Tammy want to tell the audience? What do we want people to feel at the end of the movie? And how can we do that through song? And how can we do that through her preaching? So yeah, I mean, I worked really hard. I'd studied song a little, singing a little bit at Juilliard, but acting through song, not like singing. I worked with singing coaches, and I worked with Dave Cobb, he helped me a lot, because we did our first day of pre-records. And then on the second day, he said, I'm throwing everything out and I'm going to change the key and make the keys much higher, because you're too comfortable in this music, and I need it to sound like you're reaching to the heavens. I need you to really push, and like she did. And of course, it's not something you want to do. You're like, how am I going to hit these notes? I want to be comfortable. But it was such a lesson in playing her, because I also had to do that with the acting, right? If I ever felt like laid back and like easy, then that's not the character, because she was always putting herself out there.
And the accent and the makeup go through, and the clothing. I mean, you had to build this step by step and not go too far.
And that's the difficult thing, because a character who is larger than life, whose makeup is like so, wonderfully, fabulously expressive, and clothing and her voice and her humor and her camp, because she really enjoyed, that kind of that camp quality. I mean, the whole penile pump is real. Like that, I watched the video. She did it on her show. Yeah, how do you do all of that and not make it into a joke? How do you not become a caricature? How do you really, though, show that a person can love camp and can love just excess, but still have a heart and be a living, breathing human being that feels things? That was a real fine line to walk. And that was the scary thing. And Showalter helped me a lot with that.
All right, picking Showalter was a key decision as well. So was it the Big Sick that helped you to recognize what he could do? Because I don't think he got as much credit as he deserved on the Big Sick for pulling that together.
I 100% agree with you. Absolutely, The Big Sick was a film that I was very interested in him coming aboard, because not only is he's from like sketch comedy too. Like he's like, so like at Brown, he had this improv group and he's so funny. And he's amazing. And I also loved Hello, My Name is Doris, the Sally Field movie that he directed. I just thought he was such an inspired choice. And I had been working with him developing another script, and all of a sudden and I loved the development process with him. It just kind of became an easy thing of like, hey, what about Tammy Faye? And so it was a great match, because both Andrew and I, we can be very serious. Like we're so obsessive with the research and like the work. And Michael like was really like, come on guys, let's have a good time, let's play. And he inspired the fun in us, which was really important for this.
Well, picking Garfield was important too. You needed someone who was an equal match for you.
Yeah, or a better match. Make someone who makes me kind of like, I have to like meet him, that's the thing. You always have to work with people who make you work harder. And that was him. I mean, the first time he did a makeup test, he sent me a video, and he didn't send it as like Andrew. He was Jim. He like was talking to me about his makeup and his hair and everything, and he was in character. And this was like a month before we started shooting. And I was so freaked out. I talked to the dialect coach, Liz Himmelstein, and I just was freaking out because she was repping both of us. And I said, I'm so nervous. He's so great. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like, how am I going to show up in these scenes with him? He's already there. And she was very smart. She started at that moment. She's like, okay, from now on, the two of you guys are going to do your dialect sessions together on Skype. So we started prepping together so I could get less intimidated.
So let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is, of course, the makeup. So you had to go into hours and hours every day. It had to be workable, and it had to not completely destroy your skin, as was rumored. So what was that like? I mean, how did it help you? How did it work for you? And also the idea that she was somehow, this is what struck me today as I was thinking about this, she was very sincere.
Yes.
You kept that. You didn't camp her up. Even if she liked to do it herself, you kept her sincerity.
Yeah, I kept her, sincerity and earnestness. I mean, she would make jokes and things, but she was never, I don't believe she was ever a liar. And the people that knew her talked about her in a very sincere way. So yes, that was important for us. I guess in the beginning with the makeup, it was complicated for me in the beginning because these are all artists who are at the top of their craft and their professions, and I couldn't have been in better hands. And especially the head of the makeup, Linda Dowds, and Stephanie Ingram, who does hair. I've worked with them like 13 times. I love them, and we've created such different looks. But when we did the first test for Tammy, I had a bit of a freak out. I was nervous. Like, how do you act through it? You walk into a room and it's like, it's just like, everyone's going to see the makeup because it was so good. But then how do I act through it? How does my energy go beyond the visual? Because she was super present. And I had, the next day I had a meal with David Greenbaum. We met for like lunch, I think. And he was so great with me. He's so great at like just kind of calming me down. He's like, listen, we can do the makeup, or we cannot do the makeup, but you are Tammy. Like, everything you've done, you've been working on it for a decade. Whatever you think will make you feel the most like her, that's what we're going to do. And that, knowing that I had the freedom to find her in that way, I think made me realize that by using the prosthetics and using the makeup and using the hair, the wigs, and the costumes, what it was doing is it was giving me something to push against. So like, I had to show up like Dave Cobb saying, I'm going to raise the key So then I had to match it. Like Andrew Garfield saying, here's where I am. So now I have to match it. Now the makeup is here. So now I have to match that. It creates, I have to just bring more energy than I ever thought was humanly possible to show up for all these aspects.
So one of the things we've talked about over the years, and we're winding up now, is the idea that you have taken control of your career. If you had stayed inside the system, playing the roles that came your way, would you have the career you have today?
Absolutely not. I mean, but I'm sure you too, Anne, I've seen the industry change a lot in a decade.
Radically.
I mean, Sundance, Cannes, Venice, female filmmakers took the top prize, right? Come on. Do you know when I started?
A picture of Campion and all of them together at Venice?
I want to cry.
And you were there.
Like Jane Campion was the very first. They say she was the first woman to, and she, until this year was the only woman to win the Palme d'Or. The reality is she tied. Like the industry was not like that, So this year there's been a huge change. In 2012, I did Zero Dark 30 with Catherine Bigelow, and I really saw it was like a front row seat of how female filmmakers were treated compared to how male filmmakers were treated. And I really decided right then and there that it was absolutely unacceptable, and that if I kind of followed within that system, in some sense, I'm also erasing any kind of career that I hope to have. We had to change it immediately. So for me, it was I had to work with a female filmmaker every year. I had all of these things that I really wanted to do, to use whatever platform I had to amplify the talents of others. And that's what's been it's extraordinary to see over the past 5 years, is you've seen this community of women really do that, not just for women, but for people of color, for so many that have been denied their stories being told. I can't express to you how grateful I am to be working in a time where there is that monumental change. My career absolutely would not be what it was if I just sat silent and waited for the parts to come to me. Because in the beginning, I saw the scripts that I was getting, and there were a lot of wives telling their husbands, please don't go do that brave thing you're about to go do. I was like, this is just not going to be my life. So yeah, when I look back at the parts I've been able to play, I have the utmost gratitude and thankfulness that also people like you have been a part of the change, because it's night and day difference.
Congratulations. Applause. And thank you. Keep up the good work. All right.
You too. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Anne.